Hi, this is Elijah Manor, and welcome to Mannerisms. In this video, we'll look at how to add the Storybook style guide to an app bootstrapped by Create React App. So let's get started. Let's quickly bootstrap a web app with Create React App. From the command line, we'll use npx to kick off Create React App and name our project Playground. Create React App will then generate our app and then proceed to install all its necessary node dependencies. Now we'll change directories to our new app and proceed to install Storybook into the app by typing npx Storybook. At this point, Storybook detects the type of application, notices that it was bootstrapped by Create React App, and then proceeds to install its necessary dependencies. Once Storybook has installed, we can open up VS Code and check out what has happened. You can notice a hidden folder called .storybook that contains two files. The addons.js file imports any add-ons that you might need. In this case, it's importing the actions and the links add-ons. We'll look at how those are used in another file. Next, we have the config.js file. This is where we tell Storybook where to find our story definitions. In this case, we're looking in the source stories folder. Now let's take a look at the index.js file that Storybook created in our source stories folder. At the top, we import several things from Storybook and our related add-ons. We have stories for two main components listed in this file, welcome and button. Both of these are samples that came from the Storybook repo to get you started. In the buttons case, there are two example stories listed for the button component. The link to add-on can redirect to other components, such as the button listed here, and the action add-on lets you log actions of a component to a custom panel. In our case, button clicks will be logged. Let's briefly switch gears to the package.json file before we kick up the web server. You'll notice that Storybook added a couple of npm scripts for us to use. There's a Storybook script that'll kick up a development server and a build Storybook script that'll build a version of the style guide that you could host somewhere else. As for dependencies, Storybook added a few to our dev dependencies: Storybook React, Storybook add-on actions, and Storybook add-on links. Okay, let's move on to see what the style guide looks like. Back in our terminal, we could type npm run to see all the scripts that we have available. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a Storybook entry. So, to kick off a development server, we'll execute npm run Storybook. This will use Webpack to build your React app and then start a web server on port 9009. And now you can open up a browser to navigate the style guide. The welcome page has some summary text with helpful information to get started. As we noted earlier, the links add-on should redirect us to the button component when we click on the stories link. Also, as we saw before, when we click on the button, we'll see the event logged in the panel below as a result of the action add-on. Here we have another story for button that shows using emojis instead of text. If we click on the button, it'll also log its action in the panel below. Now let's try adding our own story to Storybook. Seeing that we just created our app, there aren't many components, but there is the main app component that Create React App generated for us. So let's use that. We'll start by importing the app component from the app file. And then we'll copy the welcome set of stories and rename it to app instead. Let's name our first story as default, and instead of the welcome component, we will render the app component. Now, when we come back to the browser, we should see our new app component. And if we open it, we'll see our app rendered. However, it doesn't have any props. So let's fix that. We'll come back over to VS Code and edit our app component. Let's destructure a title prop from the component's props and use it to dynamically render the title instead of always saying welcome to React. However, let's come down here and give title a default value in case none is passed to the component. Now we'll switch back over to our stories index file and add another story to the app component. We'll call this one title and pass it a title prop of my world. If we come back to the browser, we'll see a new entry under the app component listing the new with title story, and it'll show welcome to my world. At this point, the stories are pretty static, but there are ways you can make your stories much more interactive. However, we won't go into those in this video. If that topic interests you, please leave a comment. Now let's focus on building our style guide. We'll cancel our dev server and type npm run build-storybook in the terminal. This will build a version of the style guide to a folder called storybook-static. Once it's done, you can kick up a simple HTTP server to run the web app. In our case, running npx serve storybook-static will suffice. And now we can navigate to localhost port 5000 to see our static style guide running. And sure enough, it works great. Thank you for watching this third video in the Create React App series. If you don't already have a style guide solution, Storybook is a nice and easy way to quickly get started building an interactive style guide. I've provided some resource links from this video in the YouTube description. If you'd like me to go deeper into Storybook, please let me know in the comments. If you want to know more about future videos, you can subscribe to this channel and click the bell to be notified. In the meantime, feel free to reach out on Twitter @ElijahManner. Until then, have a blessed day.